Hi, everyone. This is Rich Berliner from ChargedUP, and I'm really happy to be here with two very interesting gentlemen, Simon Crump and Rob Holmes from Photo Audit Plus. The developers of Photo Audit Plus are with us today for our podcast, and I'm really pleased that they are the lead sponsors for the Connect X EV infrastructure panel that I'm doing in Chicago next week, May 14th. And they have graciously become not only our lead sponsor, but they will be there to demo this product in Chicago next week. Rob, Simon, welcome to Charged Up in our podcast today. So let's get started. Gentlemen, you guys have developed something that I've been looking for in the industry for 30 years. And, one of the things, the way I was introduced to you fellas is by an old friend in the industry that's part of Photo Audit Plus. And we've commiserated about the fact that it's been so difficult to get paid for work that we've done because you needed to prove it and you needed to go through a very, very rigmarole, a very, very great rigmarole to try to get things done and get paid. And now, all these years later, you've developed Photo Audit Plus. Tell us about what it is and what it does, and why at this stage of the game have you guys developed this?
Yeah, maybe I'll kick off there, Rich. Photo Audit Plus was actually born out of a piece of software that was developed and did some piloting a number of years ago, in fact, and was very well received in the industry. But various things got in the way, life got in the way. We all had a pandemic, and that kind of put off and delayed productionizing the system for a while. And then a couple of years ago, we were approached by one of the partners, your friend, as you mentioned, with a view to potentially developing the software, making it industry standard, bringing it up to date with modern tech, and actually launching it to the market. And that's what we've been doing over the last couple of years, and we're very, very delighted to say that for Connect X25, it's now ready for launch. We'll be showing preview versions of it at the show, which will be exciting. And yeah, what Photo Audit Plus does really is it allows you to curate a list of predominantly photographs, but it can be any kind of media that you might wish. Photographs, videos. Will also support modern sort of 3D imagery and so on as well, drone footage, whatever you might choose. But it allows you to predetermine a list that you need, and that list can be simple or complex. Doesn't really matter how complicated. It could be thousands of images if you really need, for a really big job. And then it makes sure that every image is taken, no images are forgotten. It allows you optionally to require imagery to be approved. So until every image has been approved, the job isn't finished. Once they are all approved, then you should all be good to go. As you said before, it's a great way of knowing that before you leave site, if the office or the back office has reviewed and approved the imagery, then you're going to get paid. That's a sort of a nice tick in the box that proves that they're happy with what you've done.
Right. So let's talk about real world experience from my background and why this was such an interesting thing for me to, have this tool available now. So I ran a number of companies in the cell phone tower business for many years. And one of the problems was that the profit margins were very slim, and that if crews had to go back because they missed anything, that we probably lost the profitability on that location. So I saw Photo Audit Plus when it was introduced to me as, my God, these guys can't leave the location until I get everything I need. What an innovation that is, because so many times, and I was talking about one particular site where we had to go back and get serial numbers and had send out a climbing team because of the rules of the road for how climbers had to operate. We have to climb the tower 2 additional times just to get serial numbers off of equipment. And that ruined the profitability on sites. And I was brought to mind one particular location, but it happened so often where, and I'm sure without me knowing about it as the guy running these things, that it happened so often that they couldn't get paid because they were missing a part number, they were missing a serial number, they were missing a photo that somebody wanted, and we had to go back and lost our profitability. Was that the theme behind why you developed this, or what was the factor that caused you to want to go to this?
Yeah, I think that business case is critical, and so the real time aspect of the application and of the software is key to that, because as you alluded to there, your team needs to know when it leaves the site at the end of the day that they're not going to have to go back, because the costs, even if they have to go back for 10 minutes, the cost is going to be probably nearly the cost of going back for the whole day. And I can give you a trivial example actually of this from my own experience. Yesterday, I was at a street party on my street where I live, and they were commemorating the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War in Europe. And somebody pointed at some lines that have been painted on the road. They did some digging up of the street in my road just recently. And they said, yeah, those two dotted lines at the end, they missed those out. So they had to come back and repaint those lines, and they had to put up a temporary traffic light, which costs £800 a day, to a temporary traffic light, just so that they could close that bit of the road there and paint those two dots on that dotted line. And that's exactly the kind of example of where, if they'd had to take photographs of the work with Photo Audit Plus and then be able to submit those, and somebody could have said, no, you won't get paid for this because you missed that bit at the end of the line. And that's
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you. That goes to the next level that I want to dig to. The point being that Photo Audit Plus is different because there have been programs in the past that brought the photos right directly into the program of the carrier. But what Photo Audit Plus, if I understand correctly, is that there's approval before the team can leave the site so that it can't be ignored. And when they come back, they take their phone and they download a bunch of pictures, and then they realize, oh, I've forgotten this particular shot, and now I have to go back. So Photo Audit Plus with an approval situation, explain that a little. I don't know if I'm describing it effectively, but describe how that works.
Yeah, you absolutely are. So within Photo Audit Plus, there are various ways of defining the imagery or the subjects that you need to take. So some subjects aren't mandatory. You know, you might say, well, we'll have a group of images that you take upon arrival. So I want a picture of the locked gate, proving that it was locked when you arrived for the site, and then you should walk the site and photograph any damage that you might see around the site. Well, there might not be any damage, so those clearly don't need to be approved or whatever. They're just optional imagery that you're there to say, well, look, when we turned up, there was this piece of broken glass on the site or whatever it might have been. But then, as you say, there are also mandatory images. So you can say, right, we need a picture, as you say, of the serial number on the back of the device. So you've got to take that picture. And until you've taken that picture and all the other mandatory pictures, your app on your phone will not tell you that the job is complete. And then also you can say mandatory imagery may also have to be approved. You don't have to approve images, but it's good practice to want to approve some images so if somebody else looks at it and says, yeah, I'm happy with that. So in that scenario, until all the images that are mandatory and need approval have been approved, this job is not complete. So, of course, you can just get in your van and drive home, but you'd be very stupid to. Photo Audit Plus gives you every opportunity to not forget images and to make sure that they're all up to scratch and all up to requirement. So, yeah, it makes it really very difficult to inadvertently get home and say,
I forgot this. Yes. But yeah. You kind of glossed over a little bit one of the really important points at the beginning about taking photos of the site when you show up, because that's the legal process. You ruined my roof. No, I'm sorry, sir. Your roof already had a giant hole in it when we got there. And here's the proof. So that piece of it, in so many situations, if we had pictures, save my bacon. If we didn't have pictures, it was now my word or my crew's word against their word. So I think that's a very important part of this whole process too. Do you focus on that at all? And is that a part of your thinking in terms of here's a way to save money if you get sued or you're forced to go back for something that was really not your problem?
Well, a lot of that comes down to the design of the checklist. So the software that we've developed makes it easy, and indeed it's a lot easier than it was in the previous version of the software. It makes it easy to create and build the checklists and create templates for the kind of jobs you're doing. If you're building a telecoms tower, or if you're installing an EV charger, or you're painting a line in the street, you're going to have a different template for each of those different types of jobs. And the creation of that template and the person who designs that template, the responsibility is with them to cover and save everyone's bacon and make sure that they're collecting all the evidence that they need. So if they need to take photographs of the site before they start, then that's down to the template designer to do that. And then obviously the work when it's completed. And so that's where the intelligence comes in. And indeed, we've developed very recently, in fact, an artificial intelligence feature to assist with the creation of those checklists. And that's something else that we'll be showing at ConnectX.
Yeah. So it can get down to such a trivial item as your crew left dirty boot prints on my carpet and I want my carpet cleaned. So that I know may not be the core of what this is meant for, but it's very meaningful to a guy like me who's been through those wars.
No, I would argue and say it absolutely is the sort of thing that's precisely core to what this is all about. So one of the features of Photo Audit Plus is that the way you build up the checklists is in modules, or we call them assets in the background. And the idea there is that you can define up front a series of images that you want to take, some of them mandatory, some of them optional, on site arrival. And once you've created that list, just the site arrival pictures, you never have to recreate it again. You just know when I turn up on site, I drop the site arrival pictures in and I know I've got 25 pictures I need to take. Simple as that. You could also have a similar one for site departure. So, am I departing a site? Right, what do? I take a load of pictures around to show that we didn't leave it damaged and that the gate is locked and that the carpet is clean. So those are pictures that there again, you can create this image, this photo, this media set once. We call it a media set in the Photo Audit Plus. You create it once, you lock it, and then every job has site arrival, site departure, and then various other bits and pieces you're doing whilst you're on site.
Not to milk a dead cow here, but the arrival times, departure times, time stamping, and all that. But talk to me about the aspect of it that's near and dear is that we were given spreadsheets in the past to work off of many, many years ago. And then some of the companies developed software that they were using. And then there were products in the industry to track these projects, but they're not the same as Photo Audit Plus. Talk to us for this podcast about how this dovetails into the other products that exist in the marketplace and how this works together with that, rather than being a competitor necessarily, but how it's a dovetail into those products.
Sure, and I mean, I'll pick up on the first point you made there, which is that people create solutions out of spreadsheets, and people love spreadsheets, and lots of people know how to write spreadsheets, and people are very proud of their ability to write spreadsheets. And everybody's spreadsheet is different to everybody else's spreadsheet, and no one else knows how your spreadsheet works. And this is something that, as with our 25 years of experience of writing bespoke software for people, that we know that spreadsheets are both the savior of a lot of people, but also the bane of their lives, because it's not a scalable solution. And then you went on to talk about the interaction with other software. And again, when you've got spreadsheets and you're trying to talk to other stuff, it becomes a little bit more awkward. So what we've built into Photo Audit Plus from the ground up is this ability to create um, a, a means of communicating with other software products through a scripting mechanism that allows us to pick up certain events in the Photo Audit Plus life cycle, the workflow, and say, well, yeah, an image has been submitted, an image has been approved, a job has been completed, events like that, and script those to say, right, well, now I need to go and send some data to a different system, and it's all packaged up in a scalable way and in a easily what's the word I'm looking for here?
Easily simulated, easily
Yeah.
assimilated fashion.
Easily assimilated.
It's very, very easy. And it's a big danger in a large organization to end up with data sitting around in silos where you can't access it.
Right.
So what Photo Audit Plus, we try very hard to create a very open platform within Photo Audit Plus so that it can interact and integrate and cooperate with other systems. We often talk about creating a landscape or an ecosystem of software that cooperates together. So as Simon said, an event within Photo Audit Plus might be that somebody has signed the job off, said, yeah, all these pictures are great, all looking good, job done. Well, Photo Audit Plus at that point might say, right, I will now collate all the imagery and all the notes and all the comments and everything else into a PDF and submit that PDF into SiteTrack or Procore or one of the other big systems. So that now becomes a document within the main within the main project management system. So you can see that, that job was done. Here's some visual evidence of it.
Right. Would it be fair to call Photo Audit Plus a module within something like SiteTracker or Procore, or one of those, where all the soft stuff doesn't need pictures, the signing of the agreements and the zoning and all those things, which don't need pictures, and then a module within that is all of the photos that need to be sent in for a closeout or those things. So this is a module within that. Is that fair?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Modular companion product. So yeah, as I say, the whole idea has been designed to be very open, so it will integrate with all these systems. And Simon mentioned that we've implemented scripting within the system as well. That makes it really infinitely flexible. So that, for example, if you were to come to us, Rich, and say, yeah, well, I don't use Procore and I don't use SiteTracker, I've got my own installation of Microsoft SharePoint, which my son has customized especially for my business. Can you integrate with that? Well, the answer is, well, yes, we can. We just need some details about how you want the imagery posting and where you want it posting and what job IDs we're going to have. And then we can write a script which is custom for you that pushes that data where you need it, specific to your business. And it really does mean that you end up with a situation where there is no reason for you to end up with data sitting in silos where you can't access it. It can't be exploited by the rest of the business.
And you don't need to move from one program to another. This is a module within your main piece.
Yeah, and that module thing, I mean, absolutely. So we design it so that it can be seen as a module in another solution, because we recognize that there's a lot of software in the world and people have a lot of software already. So the last thing you need is to have another solution that sits divorced from everything else and isn't sharing data with it. So yeah, although you could use, there may be situations in which you could use Photo Audit Plus on its own because it will work on its own. We also want to make sure that it's compatible with the existing ecosystem that whichever customer it is today has already got, and that's likely to be from a diverse range of products.
Gotcha. So I couldn't be more excited about the fact that you're going to be able to demo this next week at the ConnectX show in Chicago. And so we will all be there. And I think anyone who watches this should be excited enough to come and visit and see a demo of how exactly this works. But I think it's so important for people to understand that there are now modules within the other software programs that they can use to get them even closer to being able to kind of snap their fingers and have a closeout package ready to go so that they can get paid faster and hopefully make more money doing what they're doing. This relates to telecom, which is kind of my background for many years, but also the EV charging piece that you are going to be at next week, and a lead sponsor of our EV platform, because this works even better for EV charging installations than it does necessarily for telecom and other things and whatever kind of installation work that needs to be done. Because I was just having dinner with a colleague on Saturday night talking about how many times they've gone back and back and back to these EV charging sites because they didn't have the proper documentation on these things. So this is really an opportunity. And I'm really excited. I appreciate very much that you've taken the lead sponsorship position with us at that EV charging infrastructure panel in Chicago. And I really look forward to seeing you guys in person and having our colleagues on the EV side and on the telecom side demo this and see what it's like. So thank you both for being with me today and doing this. I think the word is out that this is something that's really valuable, or the word will be out soon that this is something really valuable for people to use as part of their toolkit, if you will. And I look forward to meeting you in Chicago and seeing all my friends there at the ConnectX show, May 12th to 14th at McCormick Center in Chicago. And gentlemen, fly safe, and we'll see you really soon.